mention of your father's. One day, sometime near the end of that era of cushions and weed, I asked him about that brother. Your father stopped strumming the guitar, became very serious, and said, "Up until last week, even I didn't really know anything about it either. I'd heard my dad tell people the same thing. I have 5 children, but one of them died. And so I started saying it too. There's 5 of us, but one died. I knew that this other son of his was born before he married my mom, the result of a fling in his youth. I thought the phrase had a heroic ring to it, for those of us who survived. And something supernatural too, because he always said, 'I have,' and not 'I had,' suggesting that all 5 of us remained with him in the present. Then, a week ago, I was on the phone with Elinho, and I laughed and said, 'There are 5 of us, but one's dead.' I think it had something to do with Rafa, who swore he wouldn't come play button soccer with the rest of us until he passed his college entrance exam. My father was nearby and overheard me. He asked me why I was making light of such a serious subject. You know my father. You know how he is when he gets serious. I don't know if you remember your grandfather, but he adored you. Xavier was a special person. He could turn anything into a gag or a joke, including his own failures. He was always devising some new way of making money from theatre or literature. One time, he came up with the idea of printing cheap books and selling them at newspaper stands and distributing them to street vendors. Books with plenty of action and sex, sexy women on the covers, and metaphysical messages between the lines. They even sold pretty well. They were funny and not at all metaphysical. But Xavier always figured a way to blow his investments and end up owing even more than he did before he started. He also went through a period of trying to do this improvisational, musical, dance, theatre, circus thing. He'd place announcements in the newspaper for a theatre class that was open to anyone but professional actors. He didn't believe in acting workshops. He preferred magic and pirouettes, makeup, rags, feathers, and always music. Trumpeting fanfare, cello solos, Spanish guitar, samba sung a cappella, the dry wooden taps of indigenous music. He'd gather a bunch of people in the garage and put on a travelling show, an andante performance in several movements, connected by an invisible plot. In the 70s, he managed to put on a few of these shows. They'd start in the street at 6 in the evening, marching by the crowded bus stops and the bustling doorways of factories during the evening shift change. The spectators were part of the show, but they only realized after it had gone by. I saw one of those shows, in which Theo was one of the musicians. It was pretty amazing, sort of like a breeze or a dream. Even though they were all done up with costumes and props for vaudeville and the circus, the performance was soft and sweet, almost like a landscape. It was the complete opposite of the theatre of the oppressed. It was the theatre of the irrepressible. It eased some of the tension in the streets and lightened the hearts of people who got to see it. Nobody made any money off it, and your grandfather invariably lost much of his own. That was why he kept working as a journalist and art critic for several newspapers and magazines. He worked like a dog and lived for leisure, always ready with a bon mot and making the kind of scenes that embarrassed his children, especially as we all got older. That's why, when he became serious, really serious, not fanatic or megalomaniacal, but serious, it was something that scared us. He changed colours, as though his blood had started running the other way through his veins. His eyes got dark and his saliva thickened. We listened quietly and all felt the urge to get up and go when he, always so articulate, started stuttering. So then, Theo continued, he told me that he, my father, would always be, before all else, the father of this dead boy, his son Benjamim dos Santos Creams. That's right, the same name as yours. Now, hold on, listen. I remember everything I ever knew about it, but never knew that much. I have an unbearably good memory, that's why I'm so good at my job, with all those announcements, jingles, slogans. I'm a professional plagiarist, which is also how I knew your name was going to be the same as that dead brother's, the full name on the death certificate I just showed you. At the time, it didn't occur to me that your mother could be the same one. Santos is such a common name.